My eyes hurt. So I got these glasses on. Let me know what you think about them. We're going to wait a minute or so for people to come in. While we do, go ahead and type it in chat where you're coming from. But we got a lot to cover today. There is a lot to cover around how we're using OpenClaw right now, how we're using Claude Code. I'm going to show you the dashboards we have, how we use our Beat Claude challenge to make our very first hire from it, and how I think everyone should do this from a recruiting standpoint. I'm going to show you some 2x2s. I'm going to show you some examples on how this all is working. I think my SEO team is joining as well, so I'll be answering questions there too, because this is almost like a 2-in-1, right? I do the webinar, but I also get to train the team at the same time. So, OpenClaw is all the hotness right now. In fact, you know what I'll tell you? Jensen Huang from NVIDIA said that he believes that OpenClaw is the most important software ever invented. Okay. Probably the most important software ever invented. He said that. Jensen Huang from, I think, still the most valuable company in the world right now. We're gonna be talking about this stuff in the context of business. And sure, people are talking about OpenClaw. Oh, it's my personal assistant. I want to talk about how you can generate employees from it to ultimately generate more revenue for your business. So here's what you should do. Go grab some water right now if you haven't already. And then also go share this with your friends too. Retweet this, share this. I'm streaming this to multiple sources, but I'm going to see where you guys are coming in from right now. So we got Daniel coming in from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We got Philip coming in from Houston. Codarin, I think, coming in from Romania. And Victoria, Carlos coming in from Victoria. And Jason, hello, Jason. Jason's coming from LA. And Christopher coming from Felton. So here's what we're going to do. You guys can drop questions in as I'm going about this. And then hopefully I'm going to see what I can address as we go through this. We want this to be very interactive. And I'm going to bring the energy for the next hour or so. I might even go a little above the hour. But my whole point of showing this to you is to help you explain, just show you what all the stuff that we're doing and kind of go back and forth here. Okay. So let us get into it. I think the first thing that I want to cover is maybe some quotes we have from the CEO of Anthropic, Dario, and then you also have Naval, who cranked out a quote yesterday that I really resonated with. So I'm going to share those first, and I'm going to go about how we're doing some of these things. I'll cover how OpenClaw is helping me average around 85,000 views per X post. It's also generating views on Instagram as well. How it's generating recruits for us. It's reviving deals for us. It's invaded my Slack to help coach my team as well. It's interacting with my team. There's just so much that you can do here. And I'm going to talk to you about how this is actually kind of, it's going to help our AI fluency program as well at my company, Single Grain. So I am going to share my screen real quick. Let's go over here and let's do this. So Naval shared this. I think it was yesterday, actually. So it's not about junior versus senior anymore when it comes to the workforce, right? It's about good with AI versus not good with AI. Because I think a lot of people right now still struggle with this. Especially, I can see there's people that get it. There's also people that kind of struggle with it. Even within my own organization, I can see that people are like, well, yeah, AI is good, but we need to do real work. And in my mind, I'm just like, dude, why don't we just change this quote a little bit? Okay. So it's not about junior versus senior. It's about people that are good with the internet versus people that are not good with the internet. Okay. So if you apply that quote to the workforce today, could you imagine having someone on your team that's not good with the internet? Like, what would happen to that person? Would they survive at your company? Would they thrive? Or, as good of a person as are they going to get fired? Are they going to get fired, right? Would they not survive? So I'll find it useful, at least for me, when people say, well, when they struggle with the concept of AI and it seems to be this foreign concept thing, just say, well, like, would you be hired if you didn't know how to use the internet today? And the answer is no, right? For those of you that are watching this. So I find that that's a good quote to kind of come back to. And I think this is also very interesting to me because the CEO of Anthropic said that no one's ready. Exponents kick in even faster than you think. So he's saying we're standing on square 40 out of 64. And from square 40 to square 64, it's going faster than you think. And I think he said that something like up to 50% of white collar work is going to be in trouble in the next couple of years or so. So I would prefer that those of you watching this right now, we talk about OpenClaw, we talk about Claude Code, we talk about Codex, whatever it is exactly to help move us forward so we don't be a part of that 50%. Okay. So I am going to I'm going to show you some receipts real quick on the X articles that are doing fairly well, I would say. And I'm going to start with just really the last couple of weeks or so, right? So if you look down here, like how my OpenClaw creates X posts that generate that average 85,000 views. So that's kind of the premise for this piece over here, this live stream that we're doing. I run OpenClaw, 30 OpenClaw jobs a day. This is what actually makes them profitable. So 72,000 views. And then this one over here, I gave OpenClaw agents one shared brain. They stopped being stupid, 105,000 views. And then this one over here, 89,000 views. OpenClaw works. Your setup doesn't yet. Okay. Now, even recently, I think I had one over here. Like this one didn't do that well because I wasn't talking about setup. This is more my philosophy, and I mostly wrote this myself. But you know, your AI infrastructure is a real moat. Mine has already placed $27,000 a month in salary. So there's a lot that we can talk about in here. So if you want me to go into any one of these topics, you can just drop it into the comments. And then some of this other stuff is more philosophical. And there's lesser views here. So anyway, I proved to you, I mean, for the posts that were mostly about OpenClaw, those did really well, average 85,000 views. This one over here, by the way, what generated this? This Instagram post, okay? Let's see, we got like what, 1,000 likes on it or so. And this looks like what, 39,000 views and still counting, it's still moving up. So this was generated. I went to OpenClaw. I was like, hey, this X, this dot chart did really well. I want to make one for our purposes based on whatever we've talked about, and it generated this. Okay, so I've shown you the receipts. Let me tell you how I've gone about doing this and how I just generate these articles in general. Because I'm telling you, these articles, at least these ones down here that average 85,000 views or so, it did like 99% of the work. Okay, so OpenClaw, for those that don't know, I just look at it as an autonomous agent that can actually do a lot of the work for you. Okay, so I'm going to stop my screen share for a moment. So it can do a lot of the work for you. And I look at Claude Code, or like a Codex, for example, as it's kind of it can do deeper work for you. And I'm about to sneeze right now, like this, but the sneeze isn't coming out. But from a UI UX standpoint, I use my Claude Code to kind of build out like dashboards and things like that. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment on this unified dashboard that we're building. Okay. And how you should think about just making software in general. At least that's how we're thinking about it. But because I work with my OpenClaw all the time, originally I was using it on my Telegram. I was just chatting with it back and forth. So I was just chatting with it back and forth. And I'm just like, oh, well, tell me all the cool things we worked on this week that would be interesting for an X article. So it generates an X article. Well, your X article doesn't look like it's written by a human. Can we create a skill to humanize it? And also look at my writing style. I want you to write an X article based on my writing style, and I want you to humanize it as well. So it doesn't look like it's generated by AI. And so it's not AI slop. And that's me, by the way. On my phone, I use Super Whisper. I just dictate it out. I literally press this button over here, right? This action button on my phone. I'm just talking. Sometimes I'll talk for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And there you go. You got a prompt, right? Or sometimes I'll even dictate whatever I want to create. But the thing is, with OpenClaw, because I'm already building so many cool things, at least from my perspective, it's coming up with these ideas. And then maybe I might help with the headline, because the AI is actually not that good with the headlines. And then maybe I might go to Gemini and I'll make the image, like these little cute plush lobsters. Yeah, I did that in my Gemini, right? So that's all I did. And by the way, if I see an article or like a tweet I really like, or I see a chart that I really like, I just copy the URL and then I bring it over to OpenClaw and I say, hey, I want to make something like this based on all the work that we've been doing so far. Can we make a chart like this? And that's just the very beginning. Like when you're working with it, it's semi-automated in the beginning. But once it starts to pick up how you do things, you can just say, hey, I want you to just, run a cron job, which is a chronological like job, right? You just run it at a certain time every day. And, I want you to look at all the content. I want you to ingest all the content that I've put out through my podcast, my YouTube, whatever it is exactly. And I want you to find the best moments for me. And I want you to repurpose those moments for me. And then I can post it to all my socials. Okay. So literally, you can have this do the work for you. And the cool thing is you can then have the humans on your team. Okay. The humans on your team, then they can go focus on working on higher leverage things. Okay. Because you shouldn't be hiring humans to do robot work. I'm going to repeat that. You should stop. In fact, you should stop hiring humans to do robot work. Okay. And the humans on your team that that have good judgment, your job is to make sure that you train them up on the AI side. Now, unfortunately, the humans on your team that do not have good judgment, it's probably not going to work out, because what AI does is it ultimately it amplifies your nature. Okay, so the good parts of you, it's going to amplify. If you're an intelligent person, it's going to amplify that. Unfortunately, if you don't bring a lot of rigor to your work, it's also going to amplify that as well. So I look at money will, it's more so money will amplify your nature. AI amplifies your intelligence. That's how I look at it. Okay. So, and by the way, I'm going to bring up this 2x2 over here because I really like this one. You guys can keep dropping questions in there. I'll answer questions in a moment, but I just want to show this 2x2 because it's important too. Maybe you can save this 2x2 for later. You can take a screenshot of it, whatever you want to do. But at the very bottom left of this 2x2, okay, you have people who do not have good judgment and who do not use it. They do not use AI. And again, let's replace this with does not use the internet. Today, those people will be considered dead weight. Okay. And tomorrow, not using AI will be dead weight. That's unfortunate. Okay. Because companies are going to move on from these people faster. Now, if you have people who do not have good judgment and you teach them how to use AI or they're using AI, they become slop cannons. So I literally was just recording marketing school with Neil, and we just came off like literally 5 minutes before this recording. And he's like, we're just talking about a mutual friend. And this mutual friend, he's working on at a company right now. And all he uses ChatGPT to generate all of his work. And the boss of that company was like, dude, I can't pay this guy anymore. And my friend, Neil was like, well, why can't you pay him anymore? Because all he does is he uses ChatGPT. So then Neil goes to this friend over here and he's like, hey, I want to be, friend to friend. I want to give you honest feedback here. Like, I think you're being lazy. He's like, well, everyone else is using ChatGPT. If everyone else is doing it, it should be okay. But if everyone else is using it, there's no differentiator. And if there's no differentiator, you don't deserve to be paid more, right? And so you got to be very careful. And that's why hiring is even more important. And I'm going to go over into a hiring challenge that we have that's actually, we made it's helping us make hires. I'll just leave it at that. Amazing hires too. And so your hiring process has got to get buttoned up a lot more. You've got to make sure that you have a good AI fluency, a good AI training program, which I'm happy to talk about ours as well. But if you don't have a good hiring program, then you're going to hire a bunch of people that don't have good judgment. And it's going to lead to the bozo explosion. Okay, you don't want the bozo explosion to happen. So good hiring will lead to people with good judgment. And then you just make sure on your team, you're helping bring people along. You're bringing them to the water, but you can't make them drink. Okay. And then you get these turbo brains over here. So that's this 2x2 over here. Now let's see. I'm just looking at some of the questions over here. You mentioned previously engaging on Telegram. What have you switched to now? I'm going to show you in a moment on how things are changing for us. And then SEO team too. If you're watching this right now, SEO team, you can start to ask questions on how this might apply to the SEO team, because I think I might actually pull up that channel and talk about what I'd like to see there, and we can go from there. Okay, so let me show you guys something before I move over into how I've been, moving from OpenClaw. By the way, I still use Claude Code. I don't want to just like, I'm using only OpenClaw now. It's OpenClaw and Claude Code. And those of you that have played Counter-Strike, the game, the first-person shooter, or any first-person shooter, I just look at OpenClaw as your sidearm, so it's like a pistol, and then I look at Claude Code or like a Codex. I look at still as your primary weapon if you're looking to build like a heavy build. That's how I see it. Okay, so let me switch to this tab over here. You guys should be able to see this. Yeah, you can see it. Okay, cool. So this Beat Claude challenge, anybody can go to this. I encourage you to steal from me here, okay? Go to singlegrain.com/apply if you want to steal this, okay? Because I just look at what Anthropic did. They have a Beat Claude challenge as well, and theirs is for hiring engineers. So I was like, I went to my Claude Code actually, and I was like, hey, here's this GitHub repo over here. I want you to adapt this to our goals and what we're looking for at my company, Single Grain. Okay. So basically this is a GitHub repo or repository. And you can see it basically has these folders over here. Here's the different challenges, the leaderboard submissions. Here's the overview. Pick a challenge from challenges. So these challenges are different roles that we might be hiring for. So it's like a paid media director or like a YouTube strategist or like a COO GM, which is a new hire that we're looking for. So if you're super AI forward and you want to be GM, COO, you can reach out. Like, by the way, the difficulty on this one, it's hard. Sales director, we're looking for someone who's a very good player coach. And then these are all the things that we're looking for, right? So our rule now, if you're applying to join the company, is you have to beat AI. If you can't beat AI, well, then you can't, like if you tie with AI, ties don't advance, right? You need to be you're just going to be a slot cannon. We don't want that. Time commitment. We want each challenge to take about an hour or two. Submissions are capped at 4 pages. And the cool thing is, if you're using Claude Code or OpenClaw for this, it's connected to your GitHub repo. You can just keep updating this over time. And so I don't know, by the way, I don't know how to code, right? I just keep chatting in natural language with my OpenClaw or my Claude Code, and it creates this one. So let's look at this. Let's look at this marketing strategy one, just for example. And there's a brief for this, okay? So the challenge is, okay, here's a go-to-market strategy for AI customer support tool. The situation, you're advising a Series A startup that has built an AI-powered customer support tool. Here's what you need to know. Company snapshot, raised $5 million Series A 6 months ago, 6 months of runway remaining. Team is ex Zendesk PM plus 2 senior engineers. No dedicated marketing and sales yet. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Here's the challenge, right? So your task is to create a 90-day go-to-market strategy to get them from 0 to 50K in MRR. Here's what you should submit over here. Here's the constraints. Here's the scoring criteria. Everything is transparent, okay? Let me tell you something. I'm going to share a story with you. We just hired an AI automation engineer that went through this challenge, and this was the very first person that I actually talked to that passed the challenge. And the very first question I ask people when we're interviewing, I say, how did you first prepare for this call? You want to know this guy's answer? I read your book. Right? Like, okay, that's already an amazing answer. It pleases my ego, that's for sure, right? But the fact that he read my book and he looked through our products as well. 99.99999% of people are not going to do that. I've talked to so many people, and it's just like, they don't do that. Okay, that's number one. Now, when we started talking about AI, he started talking about Cursor. He started talking about OpenClaw. He started talking about, product. I am looking to have an extraordinary conversation with an exceptional person whenever we're interviewing, because that's just where we need to go with that 2x2 that you saw. Okay. Then he ends up talking to my CTO. They have a 70-minute call where they're just like building things using OpenClaw and Claude Code. And then I look over at my CTO. He has a smile on his face for the whole hour. Okay. And not only that, we talked to this person. I'm like, he built a startup. I'm like, hey, how long did you do that startup for? 3 years. So he took a beating for 3 years. Now, why am I telling this story to you? Because what this Beat Claude Code challenge does for you, or Beat Claude rather, what this Beat Claude challenge does for you is it shows you who's serious and it shows you who's exceptional. And it really just, it helps you get to who you're looking for a lot faster. Now, we have people on our team, like, oh, maybe the challenge is too hard, or just, yeah, it's meant to be hard because it's getting hard. Like, it's for these next few years, it's going to be hard. I think there's going to be job displacement on my end, and I don't want that to happen at my organization. So I'm going to try to force people through no matter what. At least on my team, I'm like, guys, the only way out is through. I'm going to push you through if I have to, right? And the people that were coming in, like, we're keeping the doors, like the gates very, very tight. Okay. And that's what you should do for your organization. So I don't know if you're a leader in your organization. I don't know if you're a CEO. In fact, drop it in the comments right now. If you are a leader at your org, maybe you're a founder, or maybe you're an individual contributor. I'm just curious to know what types of people that we have, in today's session. So drop it in. So Luis, you have founder. There's a question. Is there a link to this form? Just go to singlegrain.com/apply and you'll find it. Jason's a founder, and then Scott's a leader. Okay, great. All right, we're going to keep going. Founder of my business. Okay, we have a lot of founders here. Digital director, Jamie. Okay, great. So mostly leaders here. If you're a leader, your job, especially if you're a founder, is you can't offload this to somebody else. Like, I talked to one of my friends. Oh yeah. I have my team on it. Yeah, they're really on top of it. I pushed them so hard. That's not good enough, right? And maybe you don't like hearing that, but like, tough love, right? It's like everything's changing, not on a weekly basis, not on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, right? And so that by default is tough. And so you might as well get the tough love. Mostly founders in here. Okay, great. And then Philip, contributor. Poti, good question here. Are you putting your current team through the test? Are you letting people go if they don't pass? Okay, no, we're not doing that right now with our team. We do have them going through an AI fluency. We have 4 levels of it, which we took from Zapier actually. So we have unacceptable, we have capable, we have adaptive, and we have transformative. Our goal is to get everyone to not transformative, capable. Or no, it's not even capable. Sorry, adaptive. So adaptive is the 3rd level from transformative. Transformative means you're building end-to-end workflows in your organization, which means that you put in an input, the AI handles the rest, and then it gives you something to review. That's transformative. We don't have many people that are transformative right now, but we want people that are adaptive. They know how to use like a Claude Code, for example, and they know how to build real solutions that solve their day-to-day problems, not just for humans, but they build things so robots can take it over, right? That's what we're looking for. Now, here's the logic behind that. If you are trying to get people from unacceptable to capable, that's not going to work, because today's capable, literally today's capable, is tomorrow's unacceptable. Okay. So you should, at least in your organization, try to get them to adaptive. So tomorrow they fall to capable, and you should just keep trying to push them to adaptive, right? And you're going to have a few people in your organization that are truly transformative, that are building these end-to-end workflows. So that's how I look at this. Also, Poe, what I would say is, should you be re-underwriting your team every 90 days or so? Absolutely. And so we do, like, we are going to add into our review cycles that, there's an AI score. We're going to have that be public, because we're, at least in my organization, we're a fan of public feedback, right? And it is very much like, I don't think you can be in an organization right now and just expect to chill. Like I don't think that works. You can't, like, you saw Block last week, cut 40% of their staff, right? We're 4,000 people. And then every single week I'm getting a text message, like from a couple of days ago, from one of my friends. Oh yeah, we're going to be cutting 20% of our staff in the next couple of weeks. And then he's like, then he sends up a follow-up message. He's like, yeah, I was actually looking at cutting 40%. So my point of sending this to you all is, if you're working on a company right now, start to adapt these things so you're so good that they can't ignore you. Okay. And if you're a founder and you're not on top of this stuff right now, you got to get on top of stuff, because this is existential to your business, right? So so there's that. Now, there's a earlier question here on, okay, I was using OpenClaw within Telegram, which is very like single player game. Okay, single player game. Like I hold the phone up like it's a single player game, but it's actually a multiplayer game too. So last week I had my OpenClaw invade my Slack. I don't know why, but I'm just like, you know what? I think it would be helpful if I had my agents start to talk to my team, because my agents, I have multiple agents, right? I have agents for, I think I have a dashboard here for this. Here, let me just pull this up. So check this out. So, oh, this would be great. My team's never seen this before too, and some of my team members are here. So check this out. All right. So I have this dashboard here. Okay. This is our unified dashboard. Okay. I have an operations center here. And these are the agents that we have. We have me. Okay, so I'm up here. We have Alfred, who's my chief of staff. And then we have Arrow, who's for sales. And then we have Cyborg for recruiting. We have Flash for content. Oracle is for SEO. There's a lot more that I want to build. And Jason, let me know how that goes. Please send me a text if you're going to evaluate your team against Beat Claude, and let me know what you do with that afterwards. Okay, so this is my little org chart over here. I have my little operations center with all my agents. And this is one thing I'm going to direct at my team that's watching this right now. If you guys are going to use Claude Code to build something, make sure that you're not building it for human use. So this single brain unified dashboard is meant to manage agents. It's meant to help the agents and meant to manage the agents, manage the robots. So again, we're not looking to work with humans to do robot work. We want to work with humans that can only do human work. That's what we're trying to do. Okay. So I'm going to show you these. Oh, this is cool. Like, I didn't even know you can click into this. Like, this is how good it's gotten. By the way, like, what did I build this with? OpenClaw for data piping, and then Claude Code for the dashboard. And they're just feeding each other. And guess what? After I'm done with all my operating tasks today, I'm just going to go straight back to working on this. Right. So it's not even like this is what we're doing for clients as well. Because we're building some solutions end to end there. Right. So, I just think it's going to be very helpful for you all that are watching this right now. Build out a unified dashboard, but use it to manage agents. And those of you that work at a company or even work for Single Grain, think about all the stuff that you're building right now, Claude Code, OpenClaw, whatever. Think about using it to build things for that robots can take over, right? And manage robots. Don't build things for humans, okay? What I would also say too is, if you're thinking about using OpenClaw, especially if you work at Single Grain, we will not allow you to hook it in with because there's a lot of security vulnerabilities. We will not allow you to hook it in with data, right? So that is explicitly within our guidelines in our employee handbook. Now, my workaround with that is I'm putting my agents into our Slack so my team can interact with them. And even then, like, I don't have them fully secure as much as I want to. So just understand that as a founder, you are taking a risk you are taking a gamble in terms of putting your OpenClaws in there. Just like, I would say if you're talking to your OpenClaw every week, maybe every 2 weeks or so, hey, can you do a security audit? Can you help me do a security harden? And just it'll spot the vulnerabilities that you have and it'll help patch up those vulnerabilities. You're better off being safe than sorry there. There's a handful of things I do with my setup. I have my little trusty Mac Mini over here, but you want to make sure maybe it has its own 1Password vault, right? Or whatever password manager you're using. You want to make sure it has its own email address. You want to make sure that it has its own Apple ID as an example, and it doesn't have access to sending emails as you, because if someone takes over attacks your device and then they're sending emails as you, sky's the limit. They can do whatever they want, right? So you just want to be very careful there from a security standpoint. I'm not going to bore you with all those details. I'm going to kind of move on here, and I'm going to show you what we have going on in our Slack. And for the SEO team working at Single Grain, I'm going to show you what I'm kind of hoping to get out of this too. And yeah, this is Single Grain. So actually, I do have the domain for that as well. So before I move on, I'm going to answer Jason's question. Then I'm going to show you the Slack, and you guys can ask more questions in terms of like, hey, I'd like to see this over here. I want to see this. Maybe you didn't explain this clearly because I talk very fast. So Jason's question, I'm going to slow down. Jason's question is, are those different agents just separate skills.md, soul.md, and memory.md files? Just want some clarifications of how you initiate them or set them to work. Literally, yes. So I would encourage you to think about it this way. If Alfred is your chief of staff, Alfred has the most context on my business. So, what are our 3-year targets? It also has like the weekly KPI charts and everything. It also understands, it also has ingested all of my recent podcasts. Actually, all of my podcasts. It ingests Gong Calls podcasts. It ingests my granola notes. Okay. It ingests my YouTube channels. It pulls everything. And then from there, it can decide, like, it has the most context and I can ask it the most questions. It's my most trusted advisor. Now with Arrow, maybe it's only connected to Gong, and maybe it has, it has very specific things on, pipeline management, outbound deal sourcing and all that type of stuff. And then Cyborg has its own kind of directives. So each has their own use. So, okay, great. I'm going to move over to my Slack real quick just to show you how things are working in there. And I saw a real cool interaction the other day from. Okay, cool. I'm gonna share my screen over here. So let's share this. Okay, cool. So you guys can now see my internal SEO Slack. Okay, so I was just asking a question. Oracle, which is our bot. So Oracle, you can see a picture of her. This is our little SEO agent over here. So I was like, hey, Oracle, what outside the box do we need to level up Single Grain AEO based on our numbers? What parts can you execute? So Oracle's like, here's where we actually stand on AEO, what's outside the box and what I can execute right now. So here's our baseline. ChatGPT is strong. SG is Single Grain is #1 for digital marketing agency for SaaS. Our blog is ChatGPT's primary citation source. SG doesn't appear for best digital marketing agency or best SEO agency for SaaS. In Perplexity era terms, we're not owning that really well. And then my entity, Perplexity knows Eric well, full bio plus Single Grain mention. Okay, so it gives all these ideas over here. I'm not going to read everything. I'm only going to read number 6, and there's a reason why I'm reading number 6. Okay, so number 6 idea is answer engine bait. That's the idea that it has. Pages built for LLMs, not Google. This is the real outside the box one. Traditional SEO pages are optimized for Google's ranking algorithm. AEO pages should be optimized for how LLMs select citations, clear definitions of first path, structured Q&A pairs, authoritative stats with sources, and explicit entity relationships. Different format entirely. Watch this. So then Amy, our SEO director who just joined, she's like, hey, Oracle, idea number 6 about answer engine bait. How would you grade our existing site content against your optimization levers? Please separate based on subpage groupings and URL structure. So you only know how to ask that question unless you know what you're doing from an SEO standpoint, right? So if you have good judgment, okay, you're going to ask good questions. If you have bad judgment, you're going to ask not so good questions, okay? So I put a little clapping thing here because I'm just very happy that she's interacting with it, because I want my team to do this, right? Like I want them to talk to these agents more And because once you start talking with it, it's like, oh crap, I didn't know I could do that. And it's like, whoa, can you do this for me? Can you do this? Because our Oracle is connected with Google Search Console. It's connected with Google Analytics. I think it's even hooked in with our SEO product, our AEO product, ClickFlow, which, by the way, you can get a free trial of that 14 days, clickflow.com. But I digress. So Amy asked this question, and then I'm going to move the screen over a little bit. Okay, so she's like, okay, I've got this thread. Oh, no, up here. So good question. I just crawled representative pages across every URL grouping and audited the live schema markup. Here's the AEO scorecard. So it's brutal. I love brutal. Okay, so like in terms of brutal honesty. So my 6 AEO optimization layers, levers graded per section, definitive answer in first paragraph, structured Q&A pairs. Okay, so on these 776 programmatic SEO pages, and by the way, it's really cool that it called out that it knew these were PSEO pages. It's like, hey, definitive answer, you get a D. Okay. Schema markup, you get a D minus. Entity clarity, you get a D. Proprietary data, you get a C minus. Authority signal, C plus. So we suck. We basically suck at that, right? So by the way, okay, so we go back and forth over here. Like it shows all these other pages. And then Amy asked more questions. Or she's actually copying other people. So by the way, from the idea, so I asked Oracle to give me some outside the box ideas. Then Amy was like, hey, go deeper on this outside the box idea. And then it responds to us on the analysis. And then Amy tags Sean, CTO, and then Isaac from the SEO team. And also Ashley, who runs internal marketing. And then, so this one question has now spawned ideas, potentially actions. And usually, by the way, if you want a data dump on this stuff, or you want an analysis, 2 years ago, you might have had to wait days for it. And it wouldn't have been as detailed as this. But now you can get these things done quickly. Oh, by the way, watch this. What parts of this can you just do for me? Okay, so this is for you, SEO team, right? Because our Oracle has access to draft things inside of our CMS WordPress, and it has access to ClickFlow as well. My hope is that when you're putting this stuff, this is for the rest of you, when you put OpenClaw or whatever claw that you're using, like maybe an enterprise grade claw into your Slack, you ultimately want it. You can give whatever permissions you want to give, but whatever you're comfortable giving, you want it to ultimately do the work, right? And that's what I'm hoping to, because once my team sees this, they're like, oh crap, it can do the work for me. Like, screw doing the human work, right? Screw having to do, to log into an SEO tool and do keyword research. Screw even having to go into like a general agent, like a managed or something, and still have to go back and forth with it, right? So that should be the continually thinking about how humans should be doing human work, not robot work, right? I should just make a t-shirt for that. But let me know in chat if you guys would buy that t-shirt. Okay, so here's the breakdown from the AE audit. Here's what I can do. I can fix the empty, same as. I can add FAQ page schema. I can rewrite first paragraphs. I can add service schema. I need your input here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's great. I'm going to dictate this out. So like, do you have the ability to post this to WordPress? Can you draft content using ClickFlow? What are your limitations here? Okay, so while that works, and by the way, like when mine responds, it has a little Oracle ball. It's just like nice little touch. They added this yesterday, by the way, this little streaming, so you can see it working. So guys, I'm telling you, this stuff is getting better by the day. And I will say one more thing. If you work at Single Grain, just use the OpenClaw in here. Don't set it up for yourself yet. I don't want to like this. There's a reason why I'm not talking about it openly at Single Grain. Okay. Okay. So you get this response. WordPress, I got caveats over here. ClickFlow, not yet. But you want your team to start to use this because they can train this thing faster. The bottleneck before was when I was using Telegram, I was the bottleneck because I'll be talking to different agents in different chats. I'll lose context. I'll be doing something else. I might be traveling, but when your team's working with this is recursively improving it over time, right? It's just getting better over time because it has memory, and these things are just going to get better over time. And my vision in the near future is I've got a Mac Studio right here. I got a Mac Mini over here, but I can see my Mac Studios just stacking up, and I can have like an army in there, an army fleet. And I want to have this army. I want each person at Single Grain, each team member, to have an army that they can access as well. And I want to be running a lot of this on local models because my Anthropic bill just personally in the last 30 days or so, $5,000. So it's not cheap. By the way, if you're using OpenClaw, you should be figuring out how you can continually decrease your bill. So every 2 weeks or so, just run like a cost insights or like a cost analysis, and it'll help you actually decrease your token costs. Okay, so you guys could drop in the chat whatever else you want to see. I'm going to answer some questions real quick, and then I'm going to come back to screen sharing too. I got a lot more stuff to share, and we'll keep going. So let me stop this. So Jason asked the question. Can I highlight this question? Let me see. Reply. Marcus question. Okay. Oh, cool. Look at that. Learning how to use this webinar. Shout out to Riverside for their webinar platform, access to the webinar platform. They've been very generous, but I'm going to share that again. Okay. So putting the AI interactions in Slack is such a good way to push adoption. Everyone sees what your interaction. There's social pressure to do it as well. Exactly. There's social pressure as well to learn from everyone else's interactions. And by the way, there's a lot, like from a people management standpoint, there's a lot that you can do too. You can actually even help coach people too. The people that are asking, the smart questions, right? Maybe maybe the AI will interact with them more and work with them more strategically. The people that might need a little more help, maybe the AI can work with them directly too, right? So there's a lot you can do there. The other thing I'll call out too is I saw an interaction. I'll just show you guys this. Let me show you what you can do here. Okay, so we had basically, I'm pulling this up over here. So, okay, check this out. So in our chat, so we just launched ClickFlow into the public, and then right now the MRR is only like $2,000 a month or whatever, which is pretty good for 14 days into it without heavy marketing. But what's happening right now is I have Alfred inside of our one of our leadership chat groups. Okay, so let me share this with you real quick. So check this out. So in this channel, okay, so I was like, okay, take a look. This is a look at our projections for ClickFlow. This is on self-serve revenue only, so this doesn't include upsells, usage pricing, or things like that. And then Nat asked the question, does our butler, so Alfred over here, you guys should take a look at Alfred. So this is Alfred from Batman, Chief of Staff. Does our butler have access to Mixpanel to see whether we're losing prospects and what we can do about it? Yep, I've got access to Mixpanel API keys for both ClickFlow and Carrot. Happy to funnel data and figure out where prospects are dropping off. What specifically would be more useful? Guys, do you get this? Do you see how powerful this is? So then it does this analysis. Oh my God, there's a 91% drop off over here. Like, we need to fix this part of the funnel. Here's 3 warning signals over here. Cancellations are trending up over here. Month over month bright spots. It's too early for month over month. But do you want me to dig deeper? Okay, I've dug a little deeper. Oh, the Google OAuth signup is broken. If we fix OAuth, we can increase 5 to 10x completed signups overnight. Guys, at this point, it's not just a data analyst. It's actually a strategist for you. It's a strategist that can quickly switch between data analyst and also funnel expert. Okay. And then what happens is, where are you finding this? Okay. Then it tags in, then Nat tags in our CTO. Some good data above. You should add, maybe we should do this over here. I like that. Okay. So you see this? Because you're getting, I look at everything as not, AI versus no AI, or remote work versus no remote work, or in office, right? I look at everything as work cycles. When you have this sitting inside of your Slack and people are collaborating with it, you get more work cycles done. You just get more work done ultimately, right? So, and by the way, let me just settle this debate really quick. Very stupid debate, right? Developers are more, they're more productive in remote environments. Of course they are, because previously they're just focused on shipping code. They don't need to really interact with many people, right? But if we're talking about marketing related work, where you probably have to have human, collaboration more, or even sales, for example, where everyone kind of needs to pump each other up, you're going to get more work done in that scenario, because the way of working, like, you just get more work cycles done. AI allows you to get more work cycles in, and so that's how you should be looking at it, right? Like, depending on how hard you want to work right now, I just look at this stuff as you just get more work cycles in. So I just want to pause for a second, answer any questions, but drop in the chat right now. If you're finding this helpful right now, type yes into the comment. And if you think I should keep doing this, type yes into the comment as well. Because obviously, if I'm going to be spending my time doing this, I want to make sure that you guys are getting value as well. Now, let me see. Francisco's got a question here. Let's do 20 seconds. Okay. Francisco, I should show your question for longer. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let me stop my share real quick. So how did you set up OpenClaw with the iPhone action button? Were you able to set it up to send a voice note to your AI assistant on Slack? Okay, great question. So I use WhisperFlow. WhisperFlow on my iOS device, and that's how I'm able to dictate very quickly. And WhisperFlow actually does a good job with picking up whatever it is that I'm saying. I was using Super Whisper on my desktop, but now that WhisperFlow is pretty damn good on iPhone, I just walk around dictating quite a bit. And so let's take a quick detour. When I'm at the gym now, in the middle of sets, WhisperFlow to OpenClaw, right? When I'm walking to the gym, when I'm walking to the office, WhisperFlow to OpenClaw. When I'm sitting in traffic, WhisperFlow to OpenClaw. When I was flying with my CTO, sitting in row 26 next to the restrooms last week, can't quite WhisperFlow on the plane when everyone's tired, but you can bet your butt that I'm telegramming on my phone. I'm typing into Telegram, or I'm typing into Slack now that the bots are in Slack, right? So you basically get what? You get more work cycles in. And then once you get to a computer, if you need to do like a big push, you can push it over to Claude Code. And by the way, Claude Code now has remote control, so you can push the sessions to wherever you want, so you can carry over the sessions, right? So you're just going to get more work done. And just the other, I think a few days ago, I ran a poll on my Instagram and on my Twitter. And on Instagram, I just asked the question. I was like, hey, what % of you feel like you're working harder with AI? Are you working harder, the same, or less? 80% of people are working harder right now. Okay. On Twitter, it was 60% people are working harder. 25% or so are working the same, which I found surprising. But I'm working harder than I've ever worked, but also I'm having more fun than I've ever had. And I hope that you're seeing it that way in your world. And I hope those of you on the single grain team that are watching right now, I don't think I've been able to convey this excitement, but that's how I feel. And those of you on the single grain team, you should be asking questions too, in terms of how you can apply this on the SEO side. Or maybe I've made myself clear. I don't know if I have, but that's how I think you should be doing it. And by the way, not only that, those of you on the single grain team, carry that over. Like, just say, hey, we've been using it this way. When you're talking to other people on the team, hey, you should be thinking about how you should be interacting with these agents within Slack, because that's how we want to change the culture. And I would encourage you, like that interaction you just saw me give to my team, that's how you, if you're a leader right now in your company, that's how you should be delivering it. And if your company is resistant to this right now, I don't know what to say. I think the gap's just getting wider. And I know plenty of companies that are hiring amazing AI people. So yeah, Eric, you missed my attendee gift for the dinner. You couldn't, a tiny lavalier mic so you could whisper into your hand cafes. In cafes, that's what it is, WhisperFlow. Oh, well, I'm sorry I missed that. So by the way, Jason does these amazing dinners, and I had to miss that. WhisperFlow do OpenClaw. I'm not sure what that means. Let's see what else we got here. This question over here. So Poe asked, what in your opinion is human work right now? Okay, well, human work to me is when I'm looking at the dashboard that I built. Okay, a lot of strategy goes into that. Me going back and forth, dictating back and forth. Hey, what's the strategy that we should approach? What's the UI that we should approach for this? What data should we consider? Oh, by the way, it seems like the dashboard that we're building right now seems to be being built for humans. We should change that to being built for agents. So I'm more so the thinking, right? I think the thinking part, if you're a lifelong learner and you're infinitely curious, and one of our core values is be a relentless learner. If you're a relentless learner, you cannot be stopped in this world. If you are curious, because naturally, if you're curious, you're going to go try things. If you try things, you gain experience. If you have experience, you're going to ask better questions. That's how I see it. Jake says, so let me pull this up over here. 90% of my token usage has been conversations with my OpenClaw, which burns a lot. I found that building with Claude/Opus on my personal pro account is more cost effective versus building on with Claw. That's actually a good one. So because OpenClaw, at least with Anthropic, it requires you to use your API keys. You used to be able to use your Max account. You can't anymore. So I do have a Max account that I pay for. That's $200 a month. And then the API keys, I'll tell you, Jake, how I burned the $5,000. My OpenClaw basically called me a moron yesterday. So for one of our recruiting bots, it was running a cron job every 30 minutes to check for like approvals on new candidates, and I had no idea it was doing that. So I would encourage you to probably check your Anthropic bill every single day to see if that like, because sometimes you just don't know if that gets inserted. I'm just like, dude, that cron job only needs to run like once a day, not 48 times a day. And OpenClaw estimated that cron job was costing me about $3,000 a month. So that cron job alone was destroying me. And then let's see what Jamie says over here. So in my org, we're using none of this in an efficient way. Many employees less than capable. Bots that deal with only 4 systems that everyone can query would be huge. Can you suggest a place to start setting up that kind of system that you have? Jamie, can you clarify what you mean by that? When you say, can you suggest a place to start setting up the kind of system? I'm going to answer it with my interpretation, and we'll see what you say. Okay, so if you want to set this up today, in my mind, first and foremost, you have to learn it on your own. And so, by the way, it's not just OpenClaw. There are other claws that are out there. Some are more secure than others. And now that OpenClaw is owned by OpenAI, they've actually been, shipping a lot faster. Like I think maybe in the last 2 weeks or so, they might have just launched 4 different updates to it. So anyway, I use OpenClaw, but there are other ones that might be more secure for you. That's your decision. I would say that first you want to play around with it yourself. So set it up on, some people like setting it up on Discord. Discord has a lot of functionality in there. Like if you're individual contributor, for example, your team's not willing to set it up in Discord, because you can actually have, different channels. There's reply threads, and there's a whole bunch of functions you can have in there. I think my mistake was setting it up on Telegram initially, but Telegram is more for single player. Like I have these different channels, like it's sufficient. I was considering moving it over to Discord for more of the features, but then I thought about it. I was like, wait a minute, all my people are inside of Slack. So if I want true leverage, there's risk there, obviously, but if I want true leverage, maybe I add it into Slack. And I was just brainstorming with my OpenClaw, and it's like, yeah, put it into Slack. So that's what I did. But you first got to get used to it first. You first got to get some wins from like a business standpoint. So I showed you earlier, those of you that are just joining now, I showed earlier that my OpenClaw was averaging 85,000 views per X article that it wrote. And then also like I started generate like a 40,000 view Instagram post, right? So there's a lot that it can do there. You want to prove out, like if you're going to your boss, you want to prove out that some of this stuff is working. You've gotten some results from it first. And then talk about the other angles that you're seeing. Then that boss, by the way, that boss could be like, oh, damn, you're doing that on your own. Like, they're going to try to give you more stuff, which is good. And they want you to automate more stuff, which is great. But inevitably, once the companies start doing better, they have no choice but to not only promote you, but to pay you better as well. And by the way, I'm saying this to the single grain employees that are watching this too, right? As we evolve into this new world where, I'll be transparent with you all. With single brain, what we're doing is we're building agents that will not only make voice phone calls, it'll leave voicemails as well. It'll do cold email. So it'll solve kind of the outbound portion of things. Eventually we'll kind of move over into marketing with that, but we also have a sales agent at the end of it that will handle the calls end to end and close products, right? And what kind of business needs that? Almost every business. And then eventually, by the way, for everyone here, we're going to move into a world where we're not going to be quite marketing to humans as much anymore. We're probably going to be marketing more to robots, because when I look at this, like, by the way, yesterday, my one of my agents went and purchased like 10 domains for me because I wanted to use it for recruiting purposes. I didn't do it. I didn't put in, I just gave it like a virtual credit card. And I let it do it, right? So you're going to have agents crawling the internet. You're going to have agents looking at documentation. So especially those of you on the SEO side, I'm like, agents are going to be what? They're not interested in all your like, your guest blog posts. Okay. Maybe some, but they're interested more in really complete documentation. And that's why companies like Mitlify out there are crushing it, because they help with, dev documentation. So keep that in mind. There's just a lot changing. I think we're going to be marketing. Software is going to be designed for agents. Like that's why I think if you're building software right now, you need to have APIs out there that the agents can kind of just pick up and run with. And as I say that right now, I'm like, damn, for ClickFlow, I think we need to get an API out there and just, try to give away as much as we can for free. And that's a nice way to kind of market yourself, right? So that's what I would say. So Amy has a question. So Amy, do you have any high level directional suggestions for how to, or maybe when to build process that internal teams can follow in such a quickly evolving landscape? Should we be thinking about values, guidelines, checkpoints versus step-by-step process? Are SOPs as we know it, them a thing of the past? That's tough. I think it's like, That's a it depends type of question. But I do think, Amy, to your point, I think the processes change very quickly. And I will say there almost needs to be a repository of your processes, and they're probably all just Loom links now, because I do make a lot of Loom videos for my OpenClaw, and it looks at the transcript. And even yesterday, when I was giving feedback on our unified dashboard, I made like a 12-minute video with feedback, and it actually, it kind of just redid everything from like a product standpoint. Hey, here's the code, here's the prompt for Claude Code. Here's what I'm going to be doing for me. So I do think the processes will evolve pretty rapidly, and I don't know if I think maybe human SOPs stay the same for like how to operate within your organization. Like, hey, here's how we recruit. Here's our employee handbook. Here's our standards of excellence. I think that stays the same. But I think for robots, they should probably crawl that as well to be aligned with your company. But they probably need their own folders for all, or like for all the looms that you have. And that's probably how it should be over time. So I don't have a good answer for it right now. I think it's going to evolve. So I think it's a very it depends situation. Byron says you should give Single Brain its own brand if you don't already. So I was actually thinking about yesterday. I was like, dude, it's so easy for me to make these decks. I got to show you this real quick. Like, I literally was in my OpenClaw and I was like, hey, make me a deck, because people are like, how do you sell Single Brain exactly? And to be honest, I haven't thought about it. But let me show you. By the way, because I work with my OpenClaw so much, I'm going to show you what OpenClaw came with over here. Okay, check this out. So let me pull this up. Let me move this over here. Okay, so let me share this. Oh my God, it's 52 minutes have already gone by. Look how fast this. Like, when you're having fun, time flies. Okay, so check this out. So yes is to your question, or to your point. But look at this. You're paying humans to do robot work. That's where I got the quote from. This came up with it, right? 1.53 million in annual sales plus marketing payroll, 80% spent on repetitive ops tasks, 6 months average time to hire plus ramp per person. Everyone's selling AI. Almost nobody is deploying it. 8 to 12. So it says all these things, right? Meet your agent team. Every other AI tool is static. We compound. We run this every day. Here's what we do. This is, by the way, I put no work into it. All I said was, hey, based on what I've talked about with Single Brain, I guess this is some work, but I didn't tell it directly what to do. I said, just use the Nano Banana 2 model and make me cool slides. And is this perfect? No. But on the first shot, yeah, you bet your ass this is pretty amazing, right? So short answer is yes. I think I'm going to just have the AI make a brand for Single Brain. I mean, I have the domain for it already. But the way I look at all this, especially those of you that are agency owners watching this right now, is you have to be looking at, for us, we're trying to, the mission of the company is to be the marketing partner that B2B companies never outgrow. The only way for us to live that mission is to move into this world of agentic workflows and agents, right? We shouldn't be doing the vast majority of the button pushing. We should be letting the robots do it. That's why earlier, all the stuff I was telling you, like, okay, the software is going to layer up into driving leads. The podcast, the YouTube, that drives leads, okay? And then with those leads, we figure out what they need exactly, and then we'll customize the unified dashboard that I show you. We'll customize it for every single customer because they all have different needs. And then we'll have smart people managing these unified dashboards, managing these agents. And that's how we're going to do things, right? So I'd encourage you to think in that direction, not just for agencies, but really anybody doing business right now. And the way I look at this is, the CEO of Intercom actually did a post. And Intercom as a company, like the little chat widget that you have on your website, they were actually dying a few years ago, and now they're doing $400 million in annual recurring revenue. Well, how did they do that? The main thing is creative destruction. You have to be willing to kind of let go of the past to move into this future. That's how I see it working, right? Because a lot of inertia is very real, and I've talked to a few of my friends about. We're all in different camps here. Some people think job displacement or UBI is going to come in the next 3 to 5 years. My opinion is the next 5 to 10 years. And some people are like 15 years plus. And then Neil, my podcast co-host, he thinks never. I think it's definitely coming. But anyway, that's kind of out there. So let's see, Utah. Let me ask Utah this. Let me share this. Okay. So Utah says, I'm not the right audience for you. So I don't know how I landed here, but I'm a design I'm in design in a third world country. How can I start getting into this stuff? I'm experimenting with local LLMs. Okay, nothing agentic yet. Okay, I would encourage you, Utah, live on X. This is where all the action is happening right now. All the smart AI researchers, all the action is happening there. I would then encourage you to open up Grok and be like, hey, who are the best designers I can follow when it comes to AI? There are a lot of designers right now talking about how they're using Claude Code with design. That's how you want to think about it. You want to use Claude Code. Start learning how to use Claude Code, set it up, test it. It's really not as bad as you think it is. Like, just because the word code is in there doesn't mean it's that scary. You'll be okay. Trust me. I see people like, by the way, if our creative team was only cranking out creatives that like how we were maybe a year ago or so, it wouldn't work, because now customers that are coming into us, they're looking for, they want, tens of thousands or like a couple of thousands of AI generated creatives every single month. So if you don't know how to do this stuff, you got to learn to pick it up quickly, right? And that's what I would say. And so maybe now, at least from a design standpoint, you should be able to crank out more output, different concepts, right? That's what I would say. So Taylor asked this. I'm going to pull this up. For us personally, we're using the chat functionality significantly, but we haven't really built with OpenClaw, Claude Code, etc. I would say just get out there and play with it. Even if you can spend, and I would encourage you, those of you that are on the single grain team, if you can get just like Fridays, for example, spend your Fridays 20% of your time just playing with this stuff. Okay. Now, if I think back to my mid-20s when I was working at a startup and I had nothing better to do, I'd probably be spending, I wouldn't tell my boss, but I'd probably be spending, 60, 70% of my time on it, and then 30% of my time on the other stuff. Because here's what I would say. You want to think like a lazy person, okay? A lazy person would want to offload all this stuff to agents because they have good judgment that they shouldn't be doing that stuff in the first place, okay? So be a smart person, but be a smart, lazy person and automate this stuff away. And that's why I would encourage you, if you're running if you're a founder of your company, you got to be asking your people every single week, what have you automated this week? What have you automated this week? Every single week, right? It's annoying. Like, they'll probably get annoyed of you, but seriously, what have you automated this week? What can I do to help? Okay. What can I do to help? Like, that's what it is. Don't do the work for them, but help them, right? That your job is to bring them to the water. And you can't make them drink it. Like, and I'll answer a few more questions, but I want to say this too. With our AI fluency program, initially when the year started, I probably spent 12 days. I think we had 12 days off for the break or something like that. That's when Claude Code really took off because of Opus 4.5. And that was a big inflection point. Like, I saw everyone start to talk about it on Twitter. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel behind now. I'm like first 2 days, I was like, I'm not going to touch it. That's for the coders. By the third day, I was like, oh God, okay, I got to do something about this. So every single day I was pushing it hard. And then when the year started, I was like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to mandate Claude Code, adaptive proficiency is what we're aiming for. And that's what we're doing right now. So we're doing hackathons, 2 to 3 days every quarter or so. No sales calls, no customer calls, no like real work. It's just focus on building things. Okay. Then we do a show and tell. And the show and tell is the point where I appear. And when I appear, like, people get a little uneasy. It's the boss, right? But you have to appear and you have to ask pointed questions around, hey, what's the ROI of what you're building? Like, how's this going to help you not have to do this work, right? And that's what we're trying to go to. So, because again, if you have people building this stuff using Claude Code and it's performative theater and they're doing it just to appease, their leaders or appease the boss, that's not going to work because they never got it in the first place, right? So it is about, again, not having to do the robot work. And then what I would say is, okay, like, we have the hackathons, which are required. We have required office hours weekly, okay, where people can ask questions. Honestly, our team should be, showing, like, I want to show up to these, but I've been kind of barred from my leadership team to show up to these. But like sharing stuff like this in the office hours, if there's no questions, right? That's what you should be doing. But if you're a leader in your company, even an individual contributor, or even if you're a founder, you have to be championing this from the top. This is not something that you can delegate to somebody else, because if you want things to move, you have the most power and you have the most context. Okay. Even if you're an individual contributor, if you're shouting this from the rooftops and your boss, your manager doesn't want to listen, it might be time to find another job, right? Like, because what's going to happen is, okay, even if you're okay, your job is protected for the next year. So your company is not protected because they're not moving quickly enough on this stuff. That's how I see this. So let's see. I'm going to answer a few more questions and then I will we'll work towards wrapping. Taylor says your agents built that you've gotten intel back from. These pages are weak, needs improvement. How have you used these agents to create build work? What use cases do you have on that front? Okay. So I can speak to some results. What I'll say, I think we're talking about business ROI here, right? So business ROI, earlier I talked about how it creates the content and actually gets views. So that's one piece. So the content piece is settled. The second piece is we've actually recruited people from the Beat Claude challenge and like they're joining our team now. Okay, so that's very real. The third piece is it's actually reviving deals for us right now. It's looking through our entire pipeline. It's looking at deals that we lost, deals that we should follow up with. That's happening right now. Okay. Not only that, the unified pipeline that we're running or the call agents that we're running right now, that was, by the way, that was created in a week. Okay. That's created in a week. And then also we're making real business decisions on our landing pages. Like the Oracle, the SEO agent, I had to do some very minor changes on my website. And it increased the click-through rates on these 117 title rewrites by about 38% or so. So in my mind, I'm like, oh crap, it can actually do that now. I need to hand this off to my team so then they can go do the work and more so manage Oracle and like, how do we do more of that? That's what I'm looking for, right? And then as it does it more, you give it more feedback back and forth. Your team gets better, you get better, but also the agents get better as well. So that's what I would say. Now, Carlos asked this will be the last question here. Is it better to use Claude Code for creatives than OpenClaw? I think it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to build like an actual like product, I would say use Claude Code. Maybe even for your landing pages or creatives, things like that. You can definitely use Claude Code for that. It can spin up a ton of creatives for you. I would say in this case, I probably prefer Claude Code right now because I want the designs to be tighter. I want to have more control there. And then OpenClaw maybe for concepting, which it does a pretty good job of as well. So really your decision there. Now, here's what I'll say. Look, it is your job to continue to be curious, to learn this stuff. And, I'm going to be doing these live streams, webinars every single week. And obviously I have incentive here, right? Because it generates leads for the company, the people that need marketing for it. But also what's happening right now is more and more people are going to want help with like implementation too on the AI side, right? Too. So you're welcome to reach out to the team for that as well. We're just, we're just learning as we go. We're just slightly ahead right now. I would just say, make sure to dedicate at least 20% of your time to this weekly. And that being said, that will be it for this week. I hope you enjoy this. And I will catch you all, I guess, next week.